Hey y'all, well happy Monday. So today we're going to talk about 10 tips that I've come up with that will help you with your fall and quasi-winter garden here in Arizona. So stay tuned as we make our way through these 10 tips that are sure to make you a success. One of the best things that you can do for your fall and winter garden is to become really aware of the weather. Check the weather daily, check the weather sometimes twice daily, but becoming familiar with the weather patterns will help you figure out all the other things that you need to do to have a successful fall and winter garden. So find an app and I use two different ones. I use an app and I also like to look at a month-long forecast. So I recommend checking daily and keeping a bird's eye view on the month-long forecast. The only time full sun really means full sun in Arizona is actually during the fall and winter here in Arizona. So that's really important if you haven't gardened before. It would have been helpful if you could figure out what the different climates in your yard are like. Fortunately for us, we've lived here in this house for about 4 or 5 years now, and we've gardened here going on 3 years. Well, I guess we're in our 4th year now, but we started in 2017. So in that time, we've been able to become very aware of what direction the sun comes from and also where that sun lands in our yard. So the area of our yard that really gets full sun for the fall and winter season is actually right here where I'm sitting, right where my bale is and right where my raised bed is. Where we have the trellis over on the pool deck for years, we tried unsuccessfully to grow throughout the fall and winter there, and it just doesn't get enough sunlight. It's enough sunlight to sit over there and get a little tan on your face in the fall and winter, but not enough to stimulate a plant for the necessary growth that it needs to become big and to make vegetables for you. So full sun and where the sun sits in your yard is very, very, very important for your fall and winter gardens. My third tip for a successful fall and winter garden is your watering schedule. You're gonna find that as we especially get into about the middle of October, as we start to see more consistent 80-degree days, that you're gonna wanna back off from whatever your watering schedule was for the spring and summer. So for us, what that looks like is our main watering schedule occurs on Wednesdays and on Sundays. That's when we do our super, super deep watering of all of our beds and all of our containers. So in the winter and the fall season, what we have found the best success with is pulling away from that midweek watering and only watering once a week once we get down into that kind of 80-degree temperature range consistently. Now, I will slowly back off the attention that I consistently give all of my bags and containers. I'm going to monitor them. That's why having a water meter is always a good friend for you. I'll monitor them as life goes on, but I know from experience that they're gonna need less water, but we do wanna be mindful of our containers because we're still in the desert, it's still dry, and they still lose moisture quite a bit more so than our raised beds or some of our other implements that we tend to plant in, like the ground. My fourth tip for your fall and winter garden is has to do with the shade cloth. Now, my hard and fast rule that again I've learned from a couple of years of fails and wins at this gardening business in this particular backyard is that we have come to work around the 90-degree rule. So my shade cloth is going to stay in place until that time period. So that's really for us going to be just about the end of September. Now, end of September is when we're going to go into consistent days of 90-degree temperature. I keep telling myself that this is a different sun, that it's not as harsh as the summer sun, but we do have enough triple-digit days left here in this last week that I'm encouraged to keep my shade cloth up. Now, there are a couple of things that I think that would really love right now to have more sun, namely my tomatoes in the back. I think with one more dose of fertilizer and sun that's different than this 40-degree shade cloth, they would really pop off. So pay attention to your backyard again. Where is the shade landing? Is there more shade now in your backyard than there was? Can you go ahead and take off your shade cloth, or are you like me where you see the benefit of waiting till we get into the consistent days of 90-degree temperatures? Tip number 5 for your fall and winter garden, and this is one that oftentimes kind of has helped me be less than successful, and that's not having an established fertilization schedule. So you're not going to want to okay, first of all, if you're like me, you may have backed up from most of your fertilizing as we went into the hard part of the summer. I mean, what's the point in fertilizing the heck out of something that is really struggling to live anyway? So I kind of back off as we get into the most intense parts of the summer with a lot of my liquid fertilizers. Now, as I've planted my new plants, I've been fertilizing them, and something that seems to slip my mind as the temperatures back off is that my fall and winter crops still need fertilizing, especially those bigger, hardier crops like your brassicas. So it's very important now, and I'm readjusting my schedule right now because I use a once-a-month fertilizer that I sprinkle on top of the soil, and I use my liquid fertilizers going from the liquid fish emulsion and kind of back and forth with some sea kelp emulsion, kind of blends like that. The best way to keep yourself on track with a watering or feeding schedule is by using like a device, some type of calendar to remind you. So now for me, I'm having to make some changes to that because a lot of those reminders are set on this summer schedule that I was running, and I kind of got to where I ignored a lot of those reminders because, like I said, I'd backed off a little bit. So right now I'm reestablishing that schedule of fertilizing once a month, as well as modifying my liquid fertilizer feeding schedule, getting that solid in my phone so that all throughout the season all my plants are being fed properly. My 6th tip for you is it's strawberry time in Arizona. So many of you reached out to me in early spring when you saw my beautiful, delicious, sweet, luscious strawberries that we were enjoying so much, and you're like, I don't understand. My strawberries, they're not happy. They're nothing like your strawberries. All-purpose mom, what's going on? Well, what's going on is that unfortunately nurseries and big box stores sell things like strawberries out of season, even though we can't really be successful with them. So to be successful with strawberries in Arizona, you really want to start hunting out your strawberries right now. You're going to be looking at 2 different varieties, basically an everbearing and a June bearing. One's going to bloom twice a year and one's only going to bloom once a year. So that's what I would say there. I took the recommendations last year and got way more Camarosas, which I believe are just a June bearing, and I really wish that I'd gotten more of the albinos, A-L-B-I-O-N, albinian, I don't know. I wish that I'd gotten more of those. Those actually should bear twice a year, and those were the ones that were super big and super sweet. So feel free to move in and out of those parameters of the types of strawberries that you should be growing here. Explore and experiment. That way, come spring, you'll have a variety of strawberries to try, and next year you'll know more about what you want to. So take advantage of this time right now, this narrow window that's until about my birthday, which is the middle of November, to get your strawberries growing. My 7th tip for you in your fall and winter garden is when those lettuces start coming up, try to avoid snipping the whole thing off at once. Most lettuces I've found, even if they weren't originally designed to be cut and come again, you can still cut and come again. I've even had a lot of success with kale that was coming up and kind of looking a little, going through there and kind of giving it a rough little haircut. tends to make it just jump up and really start to perform for me. Now, the reason why that makes sense to me is I always think about the little deer coming along. So imagine a little deer comes along and he's taking bites of your lettuce. Well, your lettuce's #1 goal in life is to reproduce, make seeds, and reproduce itself. So because it feels like it's been under a little bit of an attack from the deer's chompers, it's going to go into really working to regenerate itself so that it can get back to its vegetative state that's necessary to get it on down the line to its reproductive stage. So it's a very, very good idea for you to enjoy your salads all throughout the season by continuing to snip at them, because the more you do, the more they'll grow. Number 8 on my list of tips for fall and winter garden is to be aware of the fact that right about the time Halloween rolls around, or the 1st of November, that's when our little buddy, the aphids, are going to come out and want to visit with our spring plants, our summer plants that we still have in the garden, like the zucchini that I recently planted. So that's the thing to know, is that we were able to plant another round of cucumbers or another round of zucchini or summer squash or plants like that, because they're typically a 60 to 70 day plant. So after that window, once they've already made the most of their production, they're going to get a little bit delicate unless the temperatures stay warm. And there's still kind of because warm temperatures during the day don't always equate to warm temperatures at night. So we often will see the first onslaught of those pesky old aphids. So you want to be looking out for those in October. That was my number 8 tip. My 9th tip for you, and this tip might not come in handy this year, but it's better to be safe than sorry, is find yourself either in your own clean out of your house, any garage sales that might be available in this situation, or Goodwills. Locate yourself some old sheets, blankets, shower curtains, anything like that that you could use in a pickle to help secure your garden if the temperature should drop below that 30-degree range. I really stay mindful. I feel like when it gets to dropping below 40 degrees, we really have to be mindful of what goes on in our own backyard. So even if you have to get yourself a little $2 outdoor thermometer that you take a look at in the mornings when you get up, that's really going to give you a much better viewpoint on what your backyard looks like when the temperatures get cool. And then if you've already got the sheets on hand, or even some plastic, then you're ready to set up a little defense for your garden and not stuck with just having your plants freeze up, because that's one thing that plants really have a tough time recovering from, is frost damage. So have some either old sheets, old blankets, or some plastic, like I think about a 4 mil will do okay, and I have to double check that. If I'm wrong, you can correct me on that. But have something, I say just in case, because they are kind of predicting that we're looking at kind of a drier, warmer fall and winter. So for us, happy growing. And number 10 is have fun. More than anything, remember to have fun and keep planting things that are in season, because you can keep planting transplants, and almost all the things that we're planting, you can keep planting all throughout the season. So have yourself a great time and just keep planting. Well, I hope you found those 10 tips, handy tips that can help you be successful with your fall and winter garden. And if there's anything else I can help you with, don't forget to put it down below. And as always, thanks so much for tuning in whenever you get a chance and supporting me and encouraging me as much as I hope that I'm encouraging you. Have a great day.